everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jaara. In this video, let me give you all the details about Lattafa niche Emirati's Al Jawhara or Al Jawhara. Quite a tongue twisting name. I find it quite difficult to pronounce, but it's Al Jawhara from Lattafa niche Emirati. And I'm quite late to this because it is not a new release. I think it's been on the market for about a year or almost a year, at this point, and I've been super curious about this particular fragrance, but it is more than I bargained for. It is like very much more than I bargained for. When I look at the nose structure, it didn't look very exciting, but I was able to test this whilst I was in Zimbabwe with Sea Chronicles, and I knew I had to have this fragrance, and when you look at the nose structure and you smell this fragrance, nothing correlates, nothing from the notes which has been provided, which includes bergamot at the top, saffron and rose in the middle, and then amber and oud at the base. And what I smell in this, nothing, correlates. It doesn't smell like the notes at all. As soon as I sprayed this one, at the time I got this one, I was not well. Like 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks ago, I got this bottle. I was not well. I couldn't, I had a cold and I couldn't smell anything. So I just, couldn't sample it, well until like a week ago, then I started testing this one out, and this is like completely different from the nose structure. I smell something like almonds, like a very sweet almondy biscuity touch. That is exactly what I smell. I don't get anything that the note is saying. I don't get anything citrusy like the bergamot. Maybe saffron, yes, I can say something like that, but rose, I don't smell anything rose in this, nothing ambery, nothing resonant. I don't get any oud, there's nothing like a funky oud or even a very polished oud, nothing of that nature at all. It completely surprised me because all I got in this, or all I get in this are almonds and some, biscuity sort of nuance, and it reminds me of something I picked up a few months ago. I don't know, I think I've seen quite a few reviews on this, and well, in those reviews it was mentioned as a very gourmand fragrance, but nothing was connected as to what it is inspired by, but this reminds me of something that I have that has been likened to Italica from Zejov. Italica, that is what it smells to me, so I can say it smells quite similar to V Partiser from Paris Corner, but there's some differences somewhere, here and there. And from the jump start, let me say this, from the jump start between these two, this and then Al Jawhara or Wara, I think I prefer this slightly over the V Partiser just because of something I want to discuss, in this video. So going to be like a little comparison, here and there, and then finally I'll give you my final thoughts. But my final thought is that I prefer this slightly over the V Partiser. Not that I don't like this one. I love, it is a 10 over 10 to me. But when it comes to Al Jawhara, I've already mentioned the notes, but it's going to give you the same exact feel of V Partiser. The most significant difference I find between V Partiser and then Al Jawhara is the fact that this one is much more sweeter, much more sweeter and less of the almond milk vibe I get in V Partiser. This one is more milky, much more of that like almond milk lactonic nuance, although I very much get it in this one. It seemed like it is quite it is rounded out beautifully in the sense that it's not as milky, although I get that almond milk nuance, but it is less lactonic. Yes, it is less lactonic than V Partiser, whilst this one is much more sweeter. There's something much more, it's like the almond here feels much more sweeter. If I'm not mistaken, I could even say I get something like caramel. I think I wrote some notes here. I think, I told myself that if the notes were not provided, when I was trying to figure out this one, I told myself if the notes were not provided, I would have sworn there's almond, there's some form of milk, and then some caramel and some whipped cream. That is what I wrote down, that I can tell there's something like a caramel touch to it, a bit of a whipped cream touch to it, some almond, and then some milk, to it. Even before I was able to connect the dots and realize it is, the same as V Partiser from Paris Corner. This is a very beautiful, much more refined, it's like a bit of a refined touch as compared to V Partiser. Although I would still highly recommend V Partiser. I'm not getting rid of it, in any way. I'm keeping both because I love them both. They are almost identical, maybe like 95% or 95%, identical. I guess that there's something about this with a smooth touch, there's a very something quite simple yet elevated, about this as opposed to the V Partiser, which I still love and I will still recommend. But between the two, if you have not bought any of them, and you are looking into buying any of them, I would say you can save up, and get this one, because this one is like a little more expensive than the V Partiser. Although if funds are going to be a deciding factor, go for V Partiser because it's going to give you an identical experience. It is your almond, your almond milk, your sweet sort of, fluffy whipped cream X sort of feel to it, although it doesn't have any whipped cream, but I swear I get something fluffy, caramel. This one feels like it has some caramel because it's much more sweeter. It's much more sweeter, whilst V Partiser is much more dense and intense. They both have almost the same characteristics. They last like, both of them last at least 6 hours on skin. I've realized, over time, going through the maceration period, they both last about at least 6 hours. They are like beautiful but beastly, like beautiful, and it lingers. It's not going to fill up like an entire building. Although I wore this fragrance yesterday, I went out, but I was in an an AC environment. I was, waiting for someone, and then a lady walked in, and as soon as she walked in, she was like, this place smells beautiful. I know it is coming from you guys. I was with my mom, so as soon as she walked in, she gave me a compliment. It's a very beautiful one. It was an AC environment, although outside is quite, warm, but I just, wore it and wore like a lot of it, and it made the impact that I was looking for, or that I usually look for when I wear my fragrances. Like, it was spraying and smelling myself. I could smell myself like the whole day yesterday. On clothes, it lasts like at least 12 hours plus, at least 12 hours plus on clothes. On skin, like 6 hours. Even when you overspray on skin, you can even push it to like 7 or 8 hours. It lingers on the skin. It has a very good, lasting power. It feels ultra feminine, ultra feminine. There's nothing masculine about this one at all. Yeah, I think those are the things I wanted to bring out. It feels like ultra feminine. It is quite sexy, quite sensual, comforting, that come hither sort of warm feel. But I think when it comes to these two, V Partiser is going to give you more of that warm hug feel, because this one is like more denser. This one feels like a bit more resonant, probably because I've had this one a longer time, so it's macerated, and become much more intense. Although this one has been around 2 weeks in my collection, I see it also thickening up, but between those two, I think V Partiser is much more creamy, much more creamy, much more milky, much more, of that lactonic nuance, and this one is more of the a sweet, like a sweeter sort of, caramel infused almond with some biscuity sort of vibe. Definitely there is almond. I'm not going to go with the note structure for this at all, because the note structure for this doesn't match the scent profile at all. There's nothing bergamot, there's nothing oud, about this, fragrance. So probably I got the wrong note structure, but I think I've compared it to a lot of sites, and it was the same note structure, so this is a very good one. I would say between this and V Partiser, if you want just one and done, if you just want to be one and done, go for Al Jawhara, Al Jawhara, as opposed to V Partiser. But if money is being considered and you still want to get a very similar experience, go for V Partiser. It is not like too different 95%, you know, accurate similarity is a good one, you know. But I mean, if you really want to get some difference, there are some difference with that. This one is much more sweeter, you know, and this one feels much more of that biscuit vibes. I get a biscuit vibes intensified a lot more in this than V Partiser, which is more of the almond milk, you know, almond milk. I would say V Partiser is more of the almond milk before the biscuit vibes, while this one is more of the biscuit vibes before the almond milk, you know. That is the main difference between these two. So that is going to be it for today, and I hope this explanation makes a lot of sense, you know. At least I've been able to connect the dots. So I believe this is also or equally inspired by Zerjoff's Italica. You know, I would just 100% say and is inspired by Italica. Although I have not sampled Italica before, and I got to sample V Partiser and from other creators I have watched who have both Italica and then V Partiser say it is quite identical. So I'm just inferring the giving that conclusion based on other creators that, you know, have both fragrances, Italica and then V Partiser. And once they've been able to compare that and say it is quite close, I would like to believe this is equally inspired by Italica. But this feels like a little, just slightly of a better quality than V Partiser. Although I'm going to insist, V Partiser is also beautifully done, a 10 over 10. Both of these fragrances are 10 over 10, you know, in my opinion. So that is going to be it, and I hope this video found you well. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye bye.